Welcome to Analects of Wisdom and our ongoing series, Sacred Texts Summarized, where we explore the timeless wisdom found in humanity's most profound spiritual traditions. Today, we delve into the luminous verses and enduring mysticism of Jalal al-Din Rumi, the 13th century Sufi master whose poetry continues to kindle hearts and minds across the centuries. As we embark on this journey into Rumi's spiritual landscape, let us pose a series of questions that guide our exploration. What does it mean to seek love, not as a fleeting desire, but as an eternal bond with the divine? How can we discover unity in a fragmented world where separation so often overshadows our shared human essence? In what ways can Rumi's poetry lead us to deeper self-awareness and a more compassionate engagement with all living beings? Jalal al-Din Muhammad Rumi was born in 1207 in Balkh, located in present-day Afghanistan. At the time, the region was part of the broader Khorasan province, a cultural and intellectual hub known for its scholars, poets, and Sufi mystics. Rumi's father, Baha al-Din Walad, was a renowned theologian and mystic whose spiritual teachings left an indelible mark on Rumi's formative years. Growing up in this environment, Rumi absorbed both the scholarly rigors of Islamic theology and the contemplative practices associated with Sufism. As political unrest swept through the region, driven in part by the Mongol invasions, Rumi's family migrated westward, eventually settling in Konya in modern-day Turkey. This city became the fertile ground where Rumi's intellect and soul would blossom. From a young age, he showed remarkable aptitude, studying Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh, Quranic exegesis, tafsir, and the esoteric teachings of Sufism. Yet despite his erudition, it was a life-altering meeting that would propel his spiritual development to extraordinary heights. Shams al-Din of Tabriz, often described as a wandering dervish, a spiritual vagabond and an enigma, entered Rumi's life like a comet blazing across the night sky. Their encounter, which many historians place around 1244, was marked by an intense spiritual bond that transcended the usual roles of teacher and student. Shams embodied a fearless devotion to the truth, haq, cutting through superficial religious formalities to reveal the heart of divine love. For Rumi, Shams became more than a mentor. He was a mirror reflecting the deepest spiritual potential within. It is said that their dialogues were so penetrating that they could spend days lost in contemplation, exploring the mysteries of existence. This unwavering focus on divine love and unity found its way into Rumi's writings, transforming him from a sober scholar into a mystic poet who danced in ecstasy. Tragically, the intensity of their friendship and Shams's unconventional approach aroused envy and misunderstanding within certain circles. Shams eventually disappeared under mysterious circumstances, and many accounts suggest he was murdered. Rumi was left in agonizing grief, a wound so profound it became the crucible for his deepest spiritual insights. In the aftermath of Shams's disappearance, Rumi began pouring his heartbreak and longing into poetic verses. He composed the Divani Shamsi Tabrizi, a collection of lyrical odes commemorating his lost companion, and later embarked on the monumental Masnavi Manavi, spiritual couplets, a 6-volume treasury of parables, metaphors, and teachings. These works stand as cornerstones of Sufi literature, woven with an unparalleled blend of love, surrender, and ecstatic devotion. Despite his deep roots in Islamic mysticism, Rumi's writings resonate far beyond religious and cultural lines. His verse often invokes a sense of placelessness and boundlessness, inviting seekers from all paths to come together in the name of divine love. He writes, "I am not of the east nor of the west, and I am not of the land nor of the sea. My place is placeless, my trace is traceless." This radical notion of transcending identity and boundaries reminds us that the divine belongs to no single tradition or culture. In Rumi's cosmos, everyone is invited to partake in the banquet of love. At the heart of Sufism lies the pursuit of ishq-i hakiki, the love of the real, or divine love. This love aims to dissolve the barriers of ego, revealing the eternal presence of the beloved, God, within every atom of existence. According to Rumi, God is not an external deity to be worshipped from afar. Rather, the divine is the very essence of our being, hidden in plain sight until our hearts awaken. In one of his most well-known verses, Rumi advises, "Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray." This wisdom urges us to heed the deepest calling of our souls, those passions or yearnings that point us back to the divine source. Within Sufism, practices such as dhikr, the rhythmic remembrance of God, and sama, spiritual listening, often accompanied by music and whirling, are used to keep the heart's compass aligned with the beloved. Rumi's iconic image as the whirling dervish symbolizes the surrender of the self to divine motion, a dance in which the universe itself partakes. Rumi's poetry, sometimes subtle and at other times exultant, captures the lived reality of divine love. Consider these lines. "In your light I learn how to love, in your beauty, how to make poems." Here, Rumi addresses the divine as the ultimate inspirer of both love and creativity. For him, poetry was not merely an art form, but a sacred practice, a means of communicating the ineffable truths of the soul. In another verse, he underscores the transformative power of love. "Through love, all that is bitter will be sweet. Through love, all that is copper will be gold." Love, in the Sufi sense, becomes an alchemical process capable of transmuting the baser elements of the self into spiritual gold. Rumi's emphasis on turning inward to find the divine mirrors insights from other mystical systems. In Buddhism, the practice of metta, loving kindness, fosters compassion for all beings, reflecting a shared sense of interdependence. Meanwhile, Christian mystics like Saint Teresa of Avila speak of an interior castle where one meets God in silent rapture. These parallels suggest a common ground in the mystical search, the recognition that love, unity, and inner transformation transcend doctrinal boundaries. Rumi captures this universal yearning for oneness when he writes, "Lose yourself completely, a return to the root of your own soul." In these words, we find an invitation to dive beneath surface identities and external labels, returning to the primal essence from which we all emerge. Among Rumi's many celebrated poems, The Guest House offers an especially poignant perspective on life's emotional and psychological experiences. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house, empty of its furniture, still, treat each guest honorably. In these lines, Rumi urges us to welcome every emotion, positive or painful, with an open heart. Rather than resisting or suppressing difficult feelings, we should greet them as guests who bring opportunities for growth. This approach resonates with mindfulness techniques in modern psychology, which encourage observing emotions without attachment or aversion. By recognizing each state as a transient visitor, we can tap into a deeper, unwavering sense of self that remains intact regardless of our changing mental weather. Further insights on The Guest House. Emotional alchemy. Rumi's poem subtly suggests that each emotion, even sorrow or anger, can serve as a path to greater awareness. Impermanence. Much like Buddhist teaching, Rumi reminds us that all experiences are fleeting, inviting us to hold them lightly. Opportunity for growth. Instead of viewing painful emotions as setbacks, we can see them as catalysts that nudge us toward transformation. Rumi's Masnavi ye Ma-Navi, often called the Quran in Persian, is a voluminous tapestry of stories, parables and spiritual commentaries aimed at guiding seekers towards self-realization. One of the most famous stories, The Elephant in the Dark, illustrates the peril of partial understanding. In a pitch-black room, a group of individuals each touches a different part of an elephant. One feels the trunk and calls it a hose, another feels the ear and calls it a fan, and so on. Rumi sums up the dilemma in these lines. If each had a candle and they went in together, the differences would disappear. This metaphor highlights how our limited perspectives can lead to conflict or misunderstanding. True wisdom emerges when we illuminate our shared reality and work collectively to apprehend the whole rather than clinging to fragmented perceptions. Despite being written centuries ago, Rumi's teachings offer concrete insights that can shape our daily lives. Consider these 3 reflections. Embrace vulnerability. Rumi frequently references the concept of the wound, implying that pain can be the gateway for divine light. The next time you face heartbreak or disappointment, inquire, how might this sorrow guide me toward greater empathy, compassion, or self-knowledge? Cultivate inner stillness. Sufi practices like whirling demonstrate how one can find a center of stillness in the midst of motion. Even a brief daily meditation, focusing on your breath or a simple invocation, can help anchor your awareness in the present moment. Foster unity in diversity. Rumi's famous lines, "Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing, there is a field, I'll meet you there," speak of a transcendental space where labels dissolve. Can we, in our own relationships and communities, create such a space of mutual respect and understanding? Rumi's poetry brims with insights that speak across time and place. Take these verses, for example. You were born with wings. Why prefer to crawl through life? This stanza dares us to recognize our inherent potential. Too often we remain shackled by limiting beliefs or external pressures. Rumi calls us to shrug off those constraints and align with the grandeur of our true nature. Another evocative excerpt reads, "When the soul lies down in that grass that the world is too full to talk about, ideas, language, even the phrase each other, doesn't make any sense." Here, Rumi alludes to the indescribable nature of mystical union, where dualities like you and me evaporate in the ecstasy of oneness. Words and concepts, though useful, ultimately fall short in capturing the fullness of divine reality. The whirling dance that Rumi popularized, later formalized by the Mevlevi order, serves as a potent symbol of the Sufi path. During Sama, practitioners spin rhythmically to music, one hand turned upward to receive heavenly grace, and the other turned downward to channel that grace to the world. This posture encapsulates the give and take of divine energy, receiving blessings from above and sharing compassion below. Whirling also stands as a metaphor for life's constant flux. Amid the chaos of motion, the Sufi dervish maintains a silent, unwavering pivot, a center point of stillness signifying the heart's connection to the divine. This balancing act between movement and quietude illustrates how we too can remain centered in our spiritual essence amidst the whirlwinds of daily life. As we near the end of our exploration, consider Rumi's invitation to live as an open guest house where each experience, whether joy or sorrow, can become a teacher. How might this perspective transform our interactions with family, friends, and even strangers? What new dimensions of love and empathy might we uncover if we approached life's uncertainties with openness rather than resistance? Rumi's poetry is more than a historical artifact. It's a living guide that speaks to the modern soul's yearnings for belonging, connection, and transcendence. In a world that often emphasizes differences, Rumi's universal message serves as a beacon, reminding us that we are all threads in the tapestry of the beloved. The wound is the place where the light enters you, he tells us. May your own wounds become portals for divine illumination. Thank you for joining us on this extended journey through Rumi's mysticism and poetry on Analects of Wisdom in our series, Sacred Texts Summarized. We hope these reflections inspire you to explore Rumi's works more deeply and, above all, to live in greater harmony with the divine energy that permeates all life. Until next time, may the path of love guide your steps and fill your days with meaning and peace.